into the advisory now and to talk about financial infidelity, or the concept of keeping money secrets from your partner. My next guest says it's more common than you might think. Betsy Westcott from Inner Money Journey joins us now. Betsy, great to have you with us. I mean, we hear these horrible stories of, people hiding things, but what has your research found?
So recent research from Finders says that it's about 1 in 5 partners are actually keeping these money secrets alive and well, and that's really worrying because if we define financial infidelity, it's someone in a relationship where they've agreed to be a financial team and share finances, and one of them is keeping a secret, lying about or hiding money from their partner, and it can happen on a real spectrum, but essentially it could be things like having a secret bank account or credit card, having undisclosed debts, gambling, or having risky investments that you haven't agreed with your partner, or even things like supporting extended family members but not disclosing that with your partner. And whilst the it's not so much about the amount of money that is, or the asset or whatever that's being hidden. It's really about that breakdown of trust. And when that's broken, when someone's lying, you're not acting like a team, and that's what's really going to harm your relationship.
So it's a little bit more than just saying, look, I got this on sale, or my friend gave it to me on a sneaky shopping spree. It's actually, using severe debt, or potentially using your partner's name to accumulate that debt.
That's very much right. I think the sneaky shopping trips aren't ideal, but that's a far lesser consequence than, say, leveraging the house to fund a business that then fails and then devastating the family's financial position. That's going to have more severe consequences. But in principle, any act of omission or lying about finances is not going to be good for your relationship.
So what happens when the trust is broken? Can there be legal consequences?
Yeah, so not every financial infidelity is going to result in a legal consequence, but there were changes to the Family Law Act in July which said in those events where someone is either using money to control someone or trying to hide assets, that, or more so the trying to control, that may be deemed as economic abuse and a part of family violence, so that can have some very real consequences. But on the other side, if someone's hiding assets and trying to, whittle down the pool of assets in a property settlement, in a relationship breakdown, then that's going to have consequences to what plays out in the separation or in the family court. So it can have very real consequences, but coming back to it, irrespective of whether it qualifies as one of those circumstances, that breakdown of trust is really not going to bode well for you as a team. And research shows that those that have financial infidelity or secrets in their relationships, they're far less happier and they're less financially secure. And interestingly, a separate study showed that here in Australia, we view financial infidelity as more serious than physical infidelity in relationships. That's for 1 in 5 Australians. And interestingly, boomers and millennials get the most upset about it. So I'm not sure what that speaks to socially, but certainly it has big
Why do you
impacts.
think this is happening? What's driving the behaviour?
So often it's less about someone with malice behind their behaviour, and it's often rooted in feelings like fear, shame, or an avoidance. They're either feeling a little bit self-conscious about their finances, they're trying to create a front that they're more successful than they are, or they just don't feel confident and they want to avoid conflict, so they're hiding things. Of course, there are those occasions when someone has really poor intentions behind it. And it's once again, it's just that breakdown of trust and
try to get back from that. So how do couples, I guess, kind of protect themselves if they've done this? How do you get back to repair that trust?
Yeah, so obviously prevention's better than cure. So in our household, we have a regular money date on the first Thursday of every month. We wait for the kids to be dropped off, so there's no interruptions. Have a coffee, talk about what's going really well, track the numbers, and then make any decisions. So having money be a regular part of your dialogue at home, not a topic that's taboo, is really important. Having ground rules about how you're going to manage money is really helpful. Having agreed responsibilities. You don't have to be the family CFO of everything, but you do have to be across it, and making sure there's transparency, that everyone knows what's going on. If you can do those things and be really aligned behind your goals, that's going to set you up well and hopefully avoid any cases of financial infidelity. If there has been a breach of trust, then it's really about, first of all, acknowledging it, what happened, and ideally why. Then creating a framework for how you're going to work as a team going forward. Now, if there's been a breach of trust, you might be able to do that yourselves, but you might need some support. So working with a professional financial coach like myself, who specializes in couples, is going to be really great. You might have to go so far as working with a relationship counselor too. And then getting behind something that feels positive and inspiring. So whether that's aligned goals or working towards something that's going to rebuild that trust, because so often we let finances be a source of stress, a bit of a chore, and just something that's really uncomfortable in our lives instead of a source of joy and connection. So how can you really frame the act of taking care of your finances and working as a team as something really positive?
And what about financial literacy and making sure that both partners are equally aware of what's going on?
Oh, I can't say how important that is. I think, louder for the back row is what I would say for that, because that's often where that asymmetry happens, and often where couples create disparity and end up disadvantaging one or the other, is because there is that lack of communication, that is that lack of confidence, and that's the ripe, fertile grounds for things to be misunderstood or for infidelities to happen. So if you can both really prioritize leveling up so that you're equal, co-pilots of your financial future, that's going to be really beneficial.